Hi, I'm Greg Hampshire, Vice President of Advantage Insurance Group, family-owned and operated independent insurance agency here in central Pennsylvania. It's a gusty February afternoon. My dad, who golfs in all sorts of weather, actually said he was concerned about how windy it was going to get. So that's telling you something. And we're actually starting to see some claims come into the office here. So I thought I'd take a break in the day, do a really short video about the 5 top misconceptions folks have about their homeowners policy. Did a video a few weeks ago just as a general overview of homeowners insurance. Recommend that you check that out. So that's going to cover a number of points, but today we're going to talk about the top 5 real questions or concerns that folks have whenever they're looking at their homeowners policy or thinking about filing a claim. So let's get into this. Let's start with number 1. Good place to start. All right. Reconstruction cost. People look at their policy and they see a figure for the reconstruction cost on the home. And almost everybody says, well, heck, there's no way I can sell my house for that amount. It is not a market value. It is not what the insurance company thinks your home is worth. They signed a contract with you to get you back in the home as it was. So most good agents will actually take the time with you to look at the square footage, types of floors that you have. Do you have brick or vinyl siding? They'll type that into a calculator, and that figure that you're seeing on your declarations page is what the insurance company thinks it would cost to completely rebuild that house if you had a catastrophic loss. So, you have a major fire. That fire cracks your foundation. With today's material cost and labor rates, how much is it going to cost for a contractor to completely re-pour the foundation, put in studs, drywall, etc.? So, sorry, you're not going to retire a millionaire because your house is worth that figure on there. I wish I could say the same thing, but that's the top misconception that a lot of folks have about their homeowners policy. On to number 2, I mentioned catastrophic loss. Your homeowners policy is not a maintenance policy or a home warranty. Most of the covered losses are going to be covered because of a catastrophic and sudden loss. So, your home is 25 years old, your roof is starting to look a little ratty. Your homeowner's policy is not going to replace that as part of maintenance. All right. So, in fact, most conservative insurers are actually going to require that you keep up with your property to avoid future loss. And if you don't, that can actually be a breach of contract. So make sure you're talking to your insurance agent about what's expected of you with maintaining your home. Okay. That's number 2. Number 3, water damage. I see in all these millions of pages I get regarding my homeowner's policy, I see the word water damage, and hey, everything is going to be covered. That isn't true either. There's a lot of different kinds of water damage, believe it or not. Now, I mentioned catastrophic before. There's going to be a theme here. In general, you're looking at a catastrophic or sudden loss when it comes to water damage. So, a big storm comes through, tree branch falls on your roof, all of the rain from that storm comes into the house, the tree branch damaging the roof, and all of this subsequent water damage, that is going to be covered under your homeowner's policy in most cases. A pipe burst, again, sudden, unexpected. Believe it or not, in most cases, the burst water pipe is not going to be covered, but the resulting water damage should be. All right, so let's talk about a not sudden case. You install a sink incorrectly, or a general contractor does, and you have a slow drip over a number of years. So you have wood that's rotting, you have mold because of that drip that's happened over a number of years. In most cases, that type of claim is not going to be covered. Sudden backup of your water pipes, or your drains, your sewer drains, or your sump pump in your basement. That is a sudden loss, but in most cases, most homeowners' policies are going to exclude that kind of loss. You can endorse that back onto your policy, and if you have a finished basement or a sump pump, we typically are going to recommend that you do, because that is a relatively common type of loss. Another sudden and unexpected claim that you may get You have a big storm that comes through and it drops 5 inches of rain in an hour. That surface water runs into your basement. Typically, that's going to be considered a flood claim. And most homeowners policies are not going to afford coverage without a separate flood policy. So there's a lot of development going on. A lot of that grass that used to soak up that water is being paved over. So when there are big storms, we're finding more folks are going to have claims from floods like that. Recommend that you talk to your insurance agent and just get a quote for a flood policy. If you're not in a really bad flood zone or flood area, you may find that it's relatively affordable and it may be worth looking into, especially if you have a basement that's finished. All right, so that was number 3. We're going to talk about the next 2 kind of in one big bundle. So number 4, I have stuff in my house and it's all covered. Well, yeah, but up to a certain amount. So you're going to see on your policy coverage for personal property. And what's that? So if you imagine your house is a box and you pick it up in your hand and you take the roof off and you dump it over and shake it, all the stuff that falls out. So your furniture, your clothes, your electronics, your toys, that stuff adds up quickly. In general, if you have a good policy, it should be the replacement cost for those items. So I have 3 kids, I have a ton of stuff. It adds up so quick. And the cost to replace it is a hard figure to come up with, but it's typically going to be more than you expect. That figure on your policy, that personal property limit, is normally going to be a percentage of the house. So it can be 50% of that house figure that you see on there. You can increase that though. So if you find that you have a figure that's too low, you think you have more items than what are listed there, you can for sure talk to your agent and increase that limit. So then that leads us to number 5. All right, so I have this personal property limit. If something happens, if I have a thief comes in and takes a bunch of stuff, then I'm covered under that limit. That is true. You are covered under that limit for things, but there are typically going to be some sub-limits that are set out by your insurance company, specifically around theft. So as you can imagine, it's pretty easy for cash and jewelry and guns to go missing. Insurance companies set limits on those items because of how common those claims are. So if you have a collection of guns or jewelry or silver or coins that you want to insure in the case of theft, we typically are going to recommend that you schedule those items on your policy. One, for record, it's good to have those things on record so that if anything does happen to them, you can very easily refer to your home policy to see what you had, but also you get broader coverage. If somebody were to come in, God forbid, and steal those items, you have a good coverage on that. It is going to cost you a little bit more to endorse those on, but just for peace of mind, we find it's worth it. So, all right, those are the top 5 misconceptions that we had. This video is getting a little long, so I'm going to end it here. But I'd appreciate any comments or questions that you may have. Feel free to throw those down below. Good to see you guys again. Appreciate you watching these videos, and we'll see you next time.